Hello there, and if you are new to the channel, you are very welcome. And in this video we are going to be showing you the 5 mistakes to avoid when planting Canna Lilies. And if you would like to see more videos on gardening, then consider subscribing to the channel. It is absolutely free. Anyway, over to Simon in the jungle. Well, thank you, Simon, and indeed it is very jungly in the borders today. Anyway, let me tell you about the first mistake to avoid when planting Canna Lilies, and that prime example is right behind me. Let me show you. Now, there are generally two ways that one would buy Canna Lilies, and that is as pre-packs in the spring or as plants that are flowering in a pot in your local garden centre. And the first mistake to avoid is buying the wrong plant. There is an issue when you're buying pre-packs. As you will see here, this was supposed to be Canna Stuttgart, which is a lovely variegated leaf, which I will throw up a picture for you so you can see exactly what this was supposed to look like. And although this is tall and it has a flower that isn't too bad, with pre-packs you're just buying a lump of root, and the trouble is you cannot be sure what that plant is in that bag, and that is something that you might wish to try and avoid. If you absolutely want to get the right plant for your money, then you are going to need to buy plants in pots, in flower, in your garden centre. Now, regarding mistake number 2, this is another issue when you buy the pre-packed tubers. Now, let's be honest, buying pre-packed tubers is probably the best way to get your biggest selection of plants, especially the Tropicana hybrids. But the thing is, what you need to realize is that when they lift these roots, prepare them and pre-pack them, it's all kind of done in just one go in a giant industrial nursery, and then all shipped out to the wholesalers and shipped out to the garden centre. So when you buy them, you want to buy them as early as you can. As soon as you see these pre-packs available in the garden centres, you want to buy them then, because that is as fresh as you're gonna find them. Now, if you end up buying these later on in the year, let me just say, these generally become available beginning of March, so you need to keep an eye on the timing when you're looking at these. So beginning of March, and if they're not available, you can always ask your garden centre staff or check online for suppliers who will sell these mail order. But buy them early, don't start buying them late, you know, not August, April, May, and certainly not in June, because the longer they're in those bags, then the longer these tubers have to dry out. And what's the point of buying dried out tubers? They take so much longer to establish, but in worst case scenario, those tubers can be dead. Mistake 3 to avoid, and have I spoken enough about pre-packed tubers? No, I haven't, because this is the third issue with them. If you're buying them early in the spring, then once you take them out of the pack, don't plant them directly into the ground. It is not going to be warm enough for them to initiate sprouting and roots. When you get them, plant them in a pot and put that pot in the warmth, preferably a greenhouse, but certainly somewhere that has got temperatures or minimum temperatures of about 10 degrees, because as soon as it hits 10 degrees it's going to start growing. You put them in the ground and you're going to have a massive delay before that thing starts sprouting, and that means you're going to have a massive delay later on in the year before it starts flowering. So if you want it to get big and you want early flowering, then put those tubers in a pot, put that pot somewhere warm. Of course, once temperatures are great outside, harden them off and put them in the ground. Mistake number 4, you are probably not watering these plants enough. Now, they are drought tolerant, they will cope with regular garden conditions, and they will establish and grow. But if you want them to establish quickly, to really put on some fantastic growth and flower, then you need to water them a lot. You know, give it a good bucket of water once a week to really get it going. But like I say, they are drought resistant, but if you want them to grow, if you want lush foliage, if you want it to look floriferous, that's a great word, then make sure you're going to give them extra waters. In fact, I've seen these plants grown as marginal plants in ponds. That's how much water that they can cope with. Anyway, on to mistake number 5, the last one. Now, all the Canna species are from South America, and like dahlias, they require regular deadheading in order to keep flowering. So if you want to extend your flowering period right up until the winter, then as soon as those old flowering stalks have finished putting out flowers, then cut them back down. And you'll find, so long as the weather is still quite mild, it will send out new flower stalks. Forget to deadhead them and they won't reflower, they will just kind of stop produce seed. But you keep deadheading them and you'll get flowers until right to the end of the season. So that is my 5 mistakes to avoid when planting and growing cannas. And if you've got any great advice or any additional mistakes that you want to avoid when growing canna lilies, then let us know in the comments. We would love to hear from you anyway. Thank you for watching and we'll see you in the next video.